Welcome to the second program in our series of summer reruns of our past programs. This one was done this year in the wintertime, informally sitting around in the cafe, and again, a kind of celebration with two really marvelous, creative, enterprising women who had done a book on finding their family, their legends, the fact that slavery was here in our community. And they were supported and cheered on by people here at Stonebridge. I think you'll enjoy their conversation. Welcome to Getting to Know You. This is a very special program that we're doing. We're doing it in the cafe, where there'll be noise in the background, but we're doing it because it's a table where Joan Hicks, who many of us remember, was really the reigning queen. And we got to know two of the people who were sitting at the table, and we're welcoming one today, but it's a very special occasion. You will see I have three women sitting here at the table with me. Two of them are now famous authors, researchers, historians, clearing the air about who we really are right in our own hometown. Sitting next to me is Elaine Buck, who's a friend of the Hoblers and would sit at this table. This was very familiar to her.
Absolutely.
Okay. And sitting next to her is Beverly Miller, who, if you live in Pennington, she represented you for a while, and maybe you should have known her there, but this is her first time to sit here. And then we're welcoming back Lindsay Hicks, one of the Hicks girls, and who has been here at the table, and also knows that Joan was very supportive of the two women who were sitting here, who are now famous. So what are they famous for? This opportunity to sit here at lunch is really a celebration. And Beverly and Elaine have been here to Stonebridge because I think one of the first book presentations you did was here at Stonebridge, and we think it was at the end of 2018
Yes.
or 19, when this book first came out.
Yes.
About the place where we live, Montgomery, Somerset County, all around us. And they had a very big audience. And who would have known that the New York Times would be writing about this book that we were all cheering on and buying? And Joan Hicks and Reeves Hicks as well, founders of Stonebridge, really became friends, I guess, through you, and really were, I guess, among the best cheerleaders of your effort. So this is a time to celebrate because the book has been out for a while, but there's another one coming, and as a result of this book, a lot of things have happened here and are now known nationally because you have a distinction of being a National Historic Site. Is that right? That you're going to tell us about?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I'm going to turn this over to Elaine and Beverly to talk about what can happen if you seriously say, I want to tell a story because it's important. It's important for us as African Americans to know of our heritage, but it's important for all, I don't know what else to say, for all those white people out there who don't have a clue. And so this all came together. And Lindsay, could you just tell us a little bit about the discussion that was going on in the Hicks family about supporting this effort, and because we're going to ask you to say something about supporting more things.
Certainly, thank you, Ingrid. Well, it's really wonderful to be back in the Stonebridge Cafe and to be with Beverly and Elaine, where it all began. And my mother, Joan Hicks, met Elaine right at this table with Randy Hobler, and then joined Elaine and the Hoblers for Wednesday lunches. And Mom really learned about the efforts of Beverly and Elaine, and the research at the time, research for the book, If These Stones Could Talk, and then also really learned about their work in telling these stories and researching the stories of the African American community in the summer Sourland Mountain region of New Jersey. And Mom was a champion, really a champion, as you mentioned, Ingrid, an ambassador for the project, and really came to be great friends of Elaine and the project, and also a great supporter of the not only the development of the museum, but now the development of the education center. Joan went to camp meetings and gospel brunches with the help of Libby and her daughter Amanda. And now it's wonderful to be back here and to really hear about the latest developments of the project.
I'm going to turn it over to you and make one little correction. I said it was Miller, and it's Mills. Okay. All right. Tell us now that you've been launched and the book is selling and so on, and a lot of other things are happening. You want to give us an update?
Well, yeah, ever since the book was launched in 2018, things have been happening at warp speed, and it's almost like we can't keep up with it. And it's all good. It's like what John Lewis would say, it's all good trouble. Okay. So what we're doing is we're now in the process of renovating the Mount Zion AME Church, which is on Hollow Road, which is our temporary location for a museum. We needed some place to house our exhibits and to start to tell the story, which we did through panels and different things that we put on the wall to start the story about how we got here as African Americans to this region, and more specifically drilling down into the Sourland Mountain region. So now we are renovating that space through the Somerset County Cultural Grant, and big things have happened. So we have now land purchased on the north side, which is going to be where our cultural and education center will be built, hopefully, eventually, very soon. And to the south side, we have now purchased land. Actually, it's the True Farmstead, which was where the farm was located, where they donated the land where the church now stands. So it was the True family with the farmstead. They had extra land and donated the land for the Mount Zion AME Church. So we're just delighted, and we're happy this is all coming full circle.
So anyone can come and visit the church, drive up to it and look around, and because it's in good shape on the outside.
Oh yeah,
now.
The church is in great shape on the outside. We're just waiting for the renovations to take place on the inside with climate control, refurbishing of the windows. We're bringing the porch back to the way it would have looked more authentically during that time period. So we're really happy that we're, finally, after 2 years of COVID, that we're now, things are moving right along. So we're looking forward to a spring.
Okay, Elaine, what's your side of the story about what's happening? Nobody mentioned the first cemetery where there's a sign that we can visit. Could you just say a little bit about that?
Of course. So a mile down the road headed towards Hopewell, if you turn on to Province Line Road, turn right on Province Line Road, leaving from here, you will see, you go over the railroad tracks and you follow the road until you see this huge sign that says Stoutsburg Cemetery. Pull down that lane, and there is a slice of heaven, is what we call it. We really are so proud that it's an African American cemetery. We don't know how old it is. We know it's over 200 years old, and there's an old part that the old timers have told us, no, this is the new section. The old part is over behind where the cemetery actually, where you can see the stones. And we are so proud of the African Americans that are buried there. We were buried there because whites and blacks couldn't be buried together. And through a lot of research, right now we're still researching with Betty Blackwell with the memorial home there to find out who exactly is buried there. We have stones for some common people that we know because they are our relatives. Beverly's parents are buried there, my parents, my grandparents, my son, and my mother-in-law, and just family members are buried there. But more importantly, we have a memorial stone for William Stives, who was in the Revolutionary War.
Ask you about that.
He's a fifer in the Revolutionary War, the 3rd Regiment, New Jersey Regiment.
Yes.
We have a stone there that the white side of the Stives family placed that stone there. He was an African American, and we also have about 10 to 12 known gravestones for the Civil War veterans, and they fought in the 127th, the 45th, the 29th. These soldiers really held it down for the Civil War. They were actually at the surrender in Appomattox. They were also there present. The 127th was present when Lincoln was funeralized, and they went through the area, and so they were there holding it down there. Then we recently just found that 2 of the people that are buried at Stoutsburg were present at Juneteenth when General Granger made the announcement in Texas. Of course, they had to have the troops to go with them because the Texans didn't want to let go of their slaves. They had been freed for over 2 years, and so General Granger went down there and told them, "You got to let these people go." So Aaron Trueheart and James Skank are buried at Stoutsburg Cemetery, and they were present along with some other troops from Pennington. And there, William Boyer was one of the soldiers.
I think it might have been George Montgomery. I'm not sure, but I know.
Well, William Boyer was there also.
Yeah, William Boyer was, we have the Pennington African Cemetery also has United States colored troops buried there. So for both cemeteries, these men were regular, ordinary African American men living in their communities who felt compelled to fight on behalf of the Union, and they did. And they once it was Congress passed that black men were able to fight in the Civil War, they did not hesitate, and they enlisted, and they went and volunteered. New Jersey did not have a training ground for black troops, so some went to Connecticut, some went to Rhode Island, and most of them went to Camp William Penn, which is right outside of Philadelphia. So that's where the majority of these black men trained, and then after they served their time, after the Civil War, they came back, farmed, did whatever
Right
they
here
did.
to the Sourlands.
Right back to the Sourland Mountains.
Well, that gives me a chance to hold up another publication I will find, because I think this really represents on paper what's happened, because you were talking about the cemetery, and now we have a Stoutsburg Sourland African American Museum, but it's a big organization, and you're only on the advisory board. There are all kinds of other people running it now.
Yeah, well,
My husband is the president.
yes,
I
well,
don't want to
it's
forget
been,
John.
and for the last now, maybe we should go back and let everyone know that we have been doing this now for 16 years. And
Even though the book has only been out for 6.
exactly. So there's been so much that's been going on. So while we were writing the book, that we knew that we wanted to start a museum, which we did in the Mount Zion AME Church, but it's a very small church, and we knew that our plan was to have a cultural and educational center that would be a lecture hall, would house our exhibits, would house offices if necessary. So
Environmental,
yeah,
all kinds of educational
yeah, all
programs.
kinds of lovely landscape around, with indigenous plants and peach trees.
Well, you have an executive director.
We do. We have an executive director.
And then I think it was in the Montgomery News. There's now a map of Black history sites. You must have had something to do with that.
Well,
Yes.
so we just don't want to forget that we are along with the Sourland Conservancy. This is why it's called the Stoutsburg Sourland African American Museum. So on our board is Kevin Berkman, and Kevin Berkman is a GIS, I call him a GIS specialist, but I'm sure that he has a proper name for the state
Anyway,
of
he
New
knows how to
Jersey.
do those kinds of things.
Yes,
He does.
and so he made this wonderful map for us, and this is the updated map of African American sites in our community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about Skillman and Princeton and Hopewell and all around the
Pennington,
surrounding areas where African Americans were present since the colonial times.
Right. But I think we also ought to be absolutely clear that African Americans largely were slaves when they first came here, and then lived and became part of the community, but only to an extent, because a black still couldn't be buried in white cemetery. So this is a story really of black history, but also of white history. And
It's American history.
and
Yes,
it's
it
our
is.
history.
Yes.
So it's been a real adventure learning about this. And I'm going to turn to Lindsay, because I know, to be absolutely honest, I know that Joan and Reeves financially supported the efforts to get them started. And here's just a little list of all of the people who have given support. And I think it takes that kind of community to also make your work come alive. So do you want to make a pitch?
I do. I am so excited to be back at the place where Joan met Elaine and learned about Elaine and Beverly's work, and was happy to support you and support the project and the efforts. And we want to reintroduce you to the Stonebridge community and reach out and make the pitch for all of you to learn more about the project and to support it also, because it's an incredible, it's a really untold story that is now being told thanks to Elaine and Beverly and all the efforts of the project.
And people know that I'm very concerned about public service and our own government supporting things, and I think it's really great to see how much support you've gotten from various New Jersey programs and national programs that recognize how important it is to have living history. And you can't do it if there isn't somebody that has lit the spark and told us it was important, which is what I think the two of you have done in your own lives, but in all of our lives. So we're really very grateful, and we're glad to be here and remembering Joni, and well, as you did at the memorial service for her. So that was really great to have you all involved. But thank you for coming and telling the story.
Thank you.
And we hope to hear more. And giving the explorers that we have here, I think the people will be out looking at what's been happening. And for those who haven't gone to the cemetery or to the church, it's easy just to go yourself and explore a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, certainly are welcome.
Well, we hope you come back and do an introduction to your second book,
Yes.
that'll be the last thing we're going to say now. Tell us, that's going to be coming out soon, and what is it called?
Our second book is called Harmony and Hostility, A View from Sourland Mountain.
And it's sort of in 25 words or less. What are you going to be covering?
Well, this is a book that's doing a deeper dive from our first book, If These Stones Could Talk. And we're talking about the building of black and white communities in this region, and how we needed each other in order to build these communities, and how they formed, and how some things worked and how some things did not work. So we'll leave it at that. It's a cliffhanger.
All right. We'll welcome you back. And so that's getting to know you, a whole lot of things today. But basically, we're here at Stonebridge, and we're glad that we could welcome Elaine and Beverly.